the end of the day, and I'm just going to start out by telling you a story of a mom who had big dreams of changing the world, who was working full-time at a daycare, making only $10.50 an hour, and even with her husband working full-time as well, they were barely able to make ends meet. So that mother made the courageous leap to quit that full-time job, do a summer of service, and go back to college after multiple attempts and failures before. That mother had to figure out how to pay for the exceptionally high cost of living and daycare for her son while she attended school, but realized that there was nothing out there to help her. That is my story. I'm Kyrie Blaney, and I'm a student, a nonprofit entrepreneur, a wife, and a mom. My story is not unique. In fact, 1 in 5 undergrad students are parents, and there are nearly 2.7 million undergrad students who are mothers. These are some of their stories. Hi, I'm Kyrie Blaney, and this is my son, Harrison. Say hi. Hi. And I am the founder and director of Build Mothers Build the World, a nonprofit focused on elevating mothers, their families, and their communities through post-secondary education.
It's a program that I think would have been extremely helpful to get me connected to other mothers. I thought I was the only one. I felt really lonely. Helped me with, just simple things, budgeting, with, like I said, that sense of community. And so I think that what we're working towards now is really going to make a huge change in the lives of mothers as well as their awesome children.
When this guy right here was just 11, I saw myself walking through a divorce and becoming a single mom. Going through that, one thing that I realized as I was sitting there, and everything's on the table, the custody of your child, your house, your dog, your kid, everybody, who gets what. And the one thing I knew that I was going to walk away from that with was my faith, my family, and my education.
That it's very important to support moms and their well-being mentally and also support professionally. I hope I will continue this work and help moms to be better and feel good. Thank you so much.
So we're Build Mothers Build the World, a Wyoming nonprofit corporation focused on assisting mothers going to college in Albany and Laramie counties. So our mission is to empower Wyoming women through access to post-secondary education, break the cycle of poverty in our families, and promote economic development across Wyoming through career placement and development. Okay, so what does that actually mean? It means that we help families achieve self-sufficiency through education. And we do that through 3 platforms. Our first is our community education platform, which provides classes. We initiated this program in February of 2020 with a financial literacy night, which was provided by a local financial advisor, Jim Ninneman. And we have plans for one in the fall on time management in Cheyenne. Our second program is our tuition scholarship, which is available through the University of Wyoming Foundation and provides a mother on campus with financial need $1,000 to go towards their tuition. Our third and largest program is our Elevate 307 scholarship program, which is an in-house scholarship program that helps mothers attending school pay for their rent or daycare costs, as well as provide them with leadership development courses that will help them in both their personal and professional lives after they graduate. Our program is unique because it serves not only single mothers, but married mothers as well. And we run on the self-sufficiency standard, which was developed by the Wyoming Women's Foundation rather than the federal poverty guideline. You can see in this chart that the federal poverty guideline is nearly 50% of what a family's self-sufficiency wage says that they need. We feel that this is a much more accurate representation of our clients' needs because it is based on not only a family's number, but their makeup, the age of their children, and the county that they live in. So some of our Elevate 307 applicants that we've seen so far range from a single mother to a married mother, one that is currently in school and one that's never attended college before, and been a stay-at-home mom of 4 kids who went years ago but is now finding a need for her to go back and complete her degree. We serve a variety of different participants, which makes us unique. Our marketing plan consists of 3 areas: our website and email, social media, and referrals and earned media. Our website has seen 150 visits in the last 3 months, and we send out regular monthly newsletters with special announcements to our email subscriber list. We're also available on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn and post there regularly. And we rely a lot on our referral program, which is with local partner agencies, and we'll go more into that on the next slide. And also earned media. We were recognized for our efforts for self-sufficiency for women in Wyoming by the Wyoming Women's Foundation at the release of the 2020 Self-Sufficiency Standard. And we're also recognized by the University of Wyoming Foundation on their Facebook page for our quarantine classes that we've been putting on. Some of those partner agencies include referral partners, financial partners, and volunteers. This ranges from the Department of Family Services to the Department of Workforce Services, LCCC's Outreach and Workforce Development Program, the UW Foundation, Tri-Hydro, Edward Jones, and more. Some of our financial goals include a 20% revenue growth, which is the average for the nonprofit industry versus a for-profit business, which typically ranges from 8 to 10%. We also expect to see revenues of $33,500 for this 2020-2021 cycle. And we also need a focus on protecting our clients and our donors as well. And we'll do this through strict accounting procedures, as well as payments made directly to providers of rent or daycare rather than the clients themselves. So this is just a further breakdown of our projected revenues and expenses for this year. And you can see that most of our revenues will come from grants, and those will be focused on local foundations. And most of our expenses will go directly back into our programming costs. We work to maintain low overhead and low administrative costs so that we can focus on serving our clients. Okay, this sounds great and all, but why should you actually invest in a program like this? Well, 3 main reasons. The first is economic development. It's been proven time and time again that better education leads to better incomes and better jobs for our community. This increases attractiveness of the community to businesses, more entrepreneurial activity, and better social capital, and overall community economic development. It also has community health implications. With rising education and rising family incomes, we see lower amounts of abuse, neglect, and higher amounts of regular health care. It also has a multi-generational impact. When mothers attend school and have better jobs, we see that there are fewer kids in our systems, and those kids go on to also attend college themselves and have better career paths. When moms succeed, their families succeed and their communities succeed around them. It's been proven time and time again that moms are the backbone of our community. So let's review a little bit. Laramie and Albany counties have the highest levels of income inequity in the state, and also house UW and LCCC campuses, which allow for it to be the perfect place for us to begin our program. A young family typically spends over 50% of their monthly expenses each month on rent or daycare, and more educated workers feed the economy. We also have 3 programs: our community education program, tuition scholarships, and our Elevate 307 scholarship program, and those are based on the self-sufficiency standard. Our funding model includes multiple revenue streams of grants, donors, and sponsorships, with a focus on grants from local foundations. We also make sure that over 65% of our expenses are going directly into our programming costs and focus on minimal overhead and administrative costs. We also have proven progress. We're a nonprofit organization as of November of 2019 with a great marketing strategy, programs up and running, and funding already coming in.
2 minutes.
So what are we asking for? We're asking for assistance with our operational expenses. This includes training at the Wyoming Nonprofit Conference in August, wages, legal and accountant fees, and other administrative and fundraising expenses. This will allow us to put the focus from grants and donors directly into those programming costs to better serve our clients. You can find us online at our website, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram at Build Mothers Build the World. As you can see, Build Mothers Build the World will have a massive impact on women in our community, as well as their families, and the economic development of our communities as well. We really appreciate your support and being able to share our mission and what empowers us with you. Thank you. Any questions?
Great. Thank you so much for that presentation and awesome video. Kyrie, I'll have you shut off your screen share so that we can see each of the judges as they are asking questions. And we'll do questions for about 10 to 12 minutes. Round of applause for a great presentation. And anyone who has a question can type it in the chat window to the send questions here, and we'll pass those along as well. So judges, who would like to kick us off? Susan, thank you. Great.
Well, first of all, amazing presentation and nonprofit model. It was so well done. You should be very proud of that. And, you know, I think it's something that I can relate to because I was that mother 40 years ago coming out of Gillette, Wyoming. So very impressed. The question that I have is tied to, it's amazing how well put together your program is, your plan, in such a short amount of time. So the question is, how big is the need? You know, do you see this, you know, numbers wise, potential, if money's not an object? Because to me, I think what you're doing is really important for Wyoming.
So I think that's a great question, and one that I tried to dive into when we kind of started this program. And kind of like you said, there are so many moms that have gone through this before, but it is really hard to gauge what the current need is. When I was looking into this, I actually visited with the University of Wyoming and LCCC to kind of see if they had any sort of numbers on the students that would fit kind of under our program. And nobody actually tracks this, which is another problem that we really want to try and help solve, is actually getting to know what the need is out there and who our clients are so that we can streamline them through all of the different processes that are available to, you know, kind of serve them, rather than having them go to a million different agencies and none of us connecting to know who they are. So that is something that I do want to work on, but I do see this expanding across Wyoming because I think I've had mothers reach out to us from Gillette who are really interested in this program and are attending college up there, but we haven't yet expanded there. So I think there is a big enough need in our current community, but also to expand across the state at a point.
Can I ask one more question? Do you know what's the college graduation? It may have been in the materials, the graduation rate for women in Wyoming, college graduation.
Oh, goodness. I have looked that up, but I couldn't tell you off of the top of my head. I know that in the Wyoming Women's Foundation wage gap report that they did, they actually list that number, but I would have to go back and find that for you.
Okay, we'll go to Walden next. I think he has a question.
I want to give a round of applause too for Rio though, because I did really like the presentation. I thought it was really well put together. My question is more towards like, we've all seen the COVID shift and how it's affecting both businesses and nonprofits, but I consider them one and the same. So like with all of your focuses around like training and courses and all this stuff, like you could be doing this on a much bigger scale than just Wyoming. As you were saying, like people are reaching out all the way from Gillette. Like I know here in Chicago, like that's one of the number one issues right now is single mothers and the education side, right? So like what type of rollout plan do you look for past Wyoming?
So kind of with your coronavirus and how it's affecting us, we have had to stop doing our in-class training. So we are offering one-on-one trainings online via Zoom or FaceTime. We've had several mothers reach out to do those with us, which is great. So we have adjusted in that way. Dilnoza actually is working in education, and she has suggested making a training program online that we could possibly roll out on a larger scale. Dilnoza, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Kyrie, and thank you, everyone. Good afternoon again. So we're thinking about maybe, to start with badges. So to create an online, certificate platform where mothers can learn independently, but also to learn, with us together so that they feel the autonomy, and then they can, develop those skills before they go to formal education. And actually, this is my dissertation on formal education that will be part of our program. And I thought that it would be awesome to make them feel comfortable. That's the important part. Most moms do not go to school because they think it's kind of hard, and they kind of feel more pushed and lots of responsibilities. And I thought that this opportunity will give them the badge program, or maybe to create online platform. They can watch videos, do maybe little tests or write responses where they reflect. It's not about just testing them, but also understanding what they, how can they reflect, how can they help themselves? Because we don't know specifically what they are looking for. They may rethink about their dreams, and kind of those things will help us to develop those programs.
Yeah.
Cool. And just one small, quick little follow-up is, I know with this being a nonprofit and going after potentially even federal money, even though federal money is tied up right now, but do you have access to, or does anybody on your team have grant writing skills? Have you ever applied for grants?
Yeah, so I have before. I did a grant writing class when I was in junior college, actually, and I wrote them for a local children's museum. So that was kind of where I got my start. I did serve on a board for Susan G. Komen, Wyoming, until their dissolution here. So I kind of helped walk through some of the grant processes there. And then I've already started applying for grants for our programs as well. Most of them are smaller local foundation grants, but we are doing that.
Cool. Thank you. Good job again.
Thank you.
Great. We'll go to Stephen for the next question.
Okay, very well done and great progress. Good to see you. I like the presentation. You've got three main programs that you folks are pulling together, but how do you address the question of job opportunities for the people that do take advantage of scholarships and tuition and get more education? What do you tell them about employment opportunities in state? Is there a program for that or an answer for that?
So as part of our Elevate 307 scholarship program, like I said, we're providing kind of leadership development classes. And within that, we're going to be working on resume building skills and working with the Department of Workforce Services. As I said, they're one of our partner agencies. So they'll be walking all of those clients through the Workforce Services program and trying to help them decide kind of what industry they want to go through. And then we're going to match them up with potential businesses that they could be working for. And we're going to really serve as that kind of go-between. We really want to focus on keeping those mothers in state and in our communities so that we can not only build the local economies, but also build that workforce and help those families as well, because obviously there's lots of moving costs and expenses if you are trying to move out of state for a job. So it's easier for them if they can find those jobs here as well.
Thank you.
Shane, go ahead.
Fantastic. I want the What's your kid's name again?
Harrison.
That dude, I have 3 kids and thank God they're grown, but that dude is cool. So you got a cool little dude there.
He is pretty cool.
Good looking kid. If I'm not mistaken, I looked at your Appendix A and your total that you guys are looking for is 8460. Is that a high, medium, low in terms of monies? I mean, if you were to give kind of a dream world, obviously like $1 million, but what's kind of the high and what's kind of the low? Obviously that 8460, if my math serves me correct, kind of takes care of quite a bit of stuff. Is there a next level above that?
Yeah, I think approximately $12,000 would cover all of those administrative expenses for our entire year. Plus, then we might be able to throw a little extra back into savings so that we can provide for the next early next year until we can get the next grant cycle going, if that makes sense.
Great. And then we actually did have a question from the audience, which we have time to get to. So maybe we'll give that a try as well. Mark Peterson wants to know, what would it take to scale the venture? So I know you answered this a little bit, but what would it take to actually start moving your impact beyond Wyoming?
I think kind of like you guys had mentioned earlier, moving on to some more large scale grants, going for maybe not even state, but governmental grants. That would be the biggest and best move that we could make. And then obviously figuring out better ways to communicate with our donors on a larger scale as well, and kind of spreading the word about our program that way.
Okay, and then another audience question, and then Spencer, I'll jump over to you too. So some are familiar with the program Climb Wyoming. Can you talk a little bit about similarities or differences, or you listed them as a partner, but what does that look like?
Yeah, so we are actually referral partners for each other because we do have a very similar mission, which is self-sufficiency for women in Wyoming. We just go about it in 2 separate ways. They are vocational training focused and we're education focused, and they are only able to serve single mothers versus we're serving both single and married mothers. And their organization runs on the federal poverty level versus the self-sufficiency level. So although we're trying to reach kind of the same audience, we differ enough that we can refer clients to each other's programs based on their needs.
Great, thank you. And then I will wrap up with Spencer's question, I think.
Yeah, great presentation. I've been on the Elbogen Foundation for 9 years now, so I see a lot of grant requests in this arena. And one thing that struck me in your plan, your business plan, was you mentioned this money was to really help for your executive director fees. And you mentioned a nuance that I don't think a lot of people realize, because a lot of private foundations don't necessarily want to pay salaries. And so I think you seeking a salary through this type of venue is a really good idea, because I can tell you at the board table, we've had those exact kinds of conversations about how we, sometimes you have to pay salaries, but at times we really like to see our money be distributed directly to the programming. And so I think you have the exact right approach, and clearly you've been in the nonprofit world with that type of thinking. So I just kind of wanted to give that comment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, that is something that we definitely thought about, is that most of the grants are asking for specific programming for it to go to, rather than those overhead and administrative costs. So this is the perfect venue for us to be able to cover those while still growing our organization. Thank you, Spencer.
Okay, great. I think with that, we're going to wrap up. So we'll give one more round of applause. Thank you for Build Mothers, Build